There came a point when my body started shutting down. I had pain in my body from training too much. And one day I went to a bar, and in that bar, there was a man standing there, and he looked at me and he said, "Do you have pain in your shoulder?" And I said, "Yeah, how do you know?"
The path you seek is not found in speed, but in stillness.
I asked him, "What should I do about my shoulder?" Like, I thought you will do something for me. And he said, I cannot heal you. You can only heal yourself. So he said, "Okay, stop going to the gym every day. Go only 2 or 3 times a week, and on the other days, do yoga." And I said, "Yoga? No, I don't want any yoga. Yoga is something for women. I don't need this." 2 years later, I went to his ashram and lived there for 9 months, because there came a point when I just wanted to know, is this really true? I can only thank Sadhguru for coming into my life, and without him, I I don't know where I would be. Yeah.
Now, I want to also know about your experience with Sadhguru. How did Sadhguru enter your life?
He entered into my life when I just spent 4 months in the US. I was 20 years old, and I was living in the US at the time. I was going to the gym almost every day, like 6 days a week. I was largely eating microwave food, and just surviving whatever to get my protein intake. And I wasn't really connected to nature at all. I was that kind of a person who would throw trash out of the car and think someone else will pick it up. I thought everything is automated, things are just being taken care of. I don't have to worry about anything. Very careless, and very egoistic in many ways. And then w- there came a point when my body started shutting down. I had pain in my body from training too much. At some point, not injured, but I started feeling pain in my shoulder, especially in my shoulder. I had some itches and pains because of overtraining in different parts of my body, but especially my shoulder was like this, and it was like I was bulky, and I asked the trainer to take a picture of me. He took that picture, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh my god, like my shoulder is like this." I didn't even realize. And he didn't say anything either. A trainer in the gym who like, it's very obvious that something is wrong with your body, but he's like, "No, no, no, you're muscular, you're building muscles, just go, keep going." And when I saw that picture, I was like, wow. And so I went home, and I just like I put my arms like this, and I couldn't. Like, my arm would stop here. And I couldn't do this. I had so much pain here. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Oh my God, I am so fit. I am going to the gym almost every day. How can this happen?" And I just couldn't believe it. So I started trying different things, different exercises, stretchings, and all. Nothing worked. And one day I went to a bar, and in that bar, there was a man standing there, and he looked at me and he said, "Do you have pain in your shoulder?" And I said, "Yeah, how do you know?" Then he said, "I can see it." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "You want me to fix it?" And I said, "Here in the bar?" He said, "Why not?" And so he just came to me. He walked up to me. He held my shoulder. He checked my spine, and he went like this. And then he just did this moment, like something, and it just did like clack clack. And my shoulder was. I was like, wow. And I, for the first time, I raised my arm, and I was like, how do you know this? Like, where can I learn this? And he said, just come to my friend's home office. He will teach you. And I said, okay. I took his number, and I next day I messaged him, and he said, come to my house, and I went to his house. I entered that house thinking, okay, it will be some kind of therapy place with, like, you know, practitioner and massage, something, something. I don't know. But I came inside and there was nothing. There was a fridge, and that fridge was empty. The kitchen was empty. Nothing was there. There were no utensils. There was no furniture, no TV, nothing. And I entered that house, and he got up. He greeted me, and all I saw there was a square, a wooden square, like a maybe 2 inch thick, and he was that was where he was sitting. But that was a square, and on that square there was a symbol on it. And around the square there were 5 different bowls, which I didn't know what it was, but later I got to know that it was the 5 elements. So for each element he had something that he offered there, and in the middle is where he was sitting on a wooden square that had a specific symbol on it, and he was basically meditating there. But I had no idea what meditation is, so he didn't say anything. He just sat down, and I sat down next to him. I couldn't sit cross-legged at the time. I just tried to sit on the floor, but I never sat on the floor. I think before. I don't think so. And he just started asking me what's happening, what are you doing, all that. And we talked for like 2 hours about everything, my life, his what he's doing there, and I just connected to him in such a deep way that I didn't connect to anybody since my entire life. Like it felt like s- this time just passed so quickly, and me and him were just sitting there and talking, and at the end of it, I asked him, "What should I do about my shoulder?" Like I thought you will do something for me, and he said, I cannot heal you. You can only heal yourself. I can help you. I can adjust something, but if I do it and you continue doing the same thing, it will come back. So do you want a quick fix that will not last, or do you want something that will last? And I said, I want something to last, of course. So he said, okay, stop going to the gym every day. Go only 2 or 3 times a week. And on the other days, do yoga. And I said, yoga. He looked at me and he said, yoga, yeah. And I said, no, I don't want any yoga. Yoga is something for women. Like, I don't need this. I don't want. So he said, okay, then go home. So I went home. And I didn't know what to do now. He said the only thing he told me to do was to do yoga, and I didn't want that. So I guess we're done. And after 2 3 days, we messaged again, and I was so desperate, so desperate. So I thought, okay, what about if I try it? Maybe I should give it a try. And that's where the universe or God or whatever, the bigger energy comes in. And a friend of mine that I knew at that time, I told her about this, and she said, "Yoga, yeah, yeah, I do. I like yoga." And I said, "Really?" And then it was a girl, but still, it was a friend. She said, "Yeah, yeah, I have this access, like I have an online access. You can just join that and you can see." And I was like, "Okay, all right." So I took her access, and it took me another week to get the courage to try, and I did it. I just some random yoga online class, 15 minutes of some kind of stretching. And I have to tell you that even there was no lineage associated to that yoga, and it was online, I felt so much better. And I felt this deep relaxation. And I didn't know that because at the gym, I go inside and I come out and I feel drained and I feel heavy. I feel like all my muscles will fall off, and it's not always a bad feeling, but it's not necessarily a relaxing feeling unless you go to the sauna or you go swimming or like you have a hot bath and then you relax. But usually after the gym, you don't feel so relaxed. You feel good. You have good like the hormones that are generated during the gym. They're positive, but more like you want to fight something. You have a lot of energy, and yoga brought me that calmness. Like wow, I did some exercise, which I wouldn't call exercise yoga exercise now, but back then I treated it as an exercise, and it helped me to relax. But from after not feeling relaxed for a long time.
That's true because I've observed that here in the gym as well. People are just like, and I asked many personal trainers also, like, have they studied something? Have they had certain kind of knowledge? But no, they are just there because they know the language and they are a little bit fit and they had like the very short interview schedule and they fit the role. That's why they are there. But they don't have any knowledge about the body, not the physical body, not the mental body, not the spiritual body, anything. They are just there because they know the language and they represent being a Swedish person or being a German person. That's why they are there as a trainer. And because they can relate in the politics that is going in the gym. That's what I've observed here. And one or two of them are like, they are very serious who have learned, who come from the naprapat background or they have studied medical field because that's why they are also there because they are passionate. But there's like only one person, one or hardly two-person, and it's difficult to get attention of that person also because he's always busy. But otherwise, all are like no. And that is the thing because I've observed because in gym also people are trying to get some certain kind of like uh, discipline. That's why they want to go to the gym because it makes them feel discipline. It makes them feel a little bit of power also to have certain ownership of our own physical health at least. And then they fall trap again to not having the correct teachers or correct mediums to help them grow from there as well. So yeah, our society is like uh, somewhere not ready where we are not people are not finding the right people or right teachers who can guide them.
Yeah, I didn't find anyone who taught me until I met the man and the mystic who then I came back to him after 10 days or what, and I told him I tried yoga and I like it. And he said, "Oh, really? Oh, then maybe you want to come again." So I said, "Sure." So I went to his house again, and this time he said, "Okay, now you're started with yoga. Next, meditation." I said, "Meditation? No, please. I cannot close my eyes. I can't." Like he said, "Okay, we will just sit together 5 minutes." After 30 seconds, I opened my eyes. I thought, okay, what's this? What's the point? I'm not getting anything out of this. And then s- s- he noticed, of course, he noticed and he opened his eyes and he said, "What's happening? 5 minutes? So difficult." And I said, "Yeah, I don't know. My mind is running. How, like, what should I do?" And then he introduced me to the Karpura Garam chant with Sadhguru's voice. And he said, just play this for 5 minutes and sit down with your eyes closed. And then I asked, who is this? Who's who's this man? Because he looked strange and he had beard and I wasn't familiar with what guru is and I didn't know anything. I didn't even had neither did I had a bad idea nor a good idea. I had no idea. But when I saw his face, I thought he doesn't look like a normal person does. As far as I know, what is this man? Like, who is this man? And he just said, if you want, you can look him up and see. And I did this meditation, which was just listening to this simple chant, and I started looking up his videos. And the first video I watched was a video with a scientist, and they were talking about what I was talking to you in the beginning, the Big Bang, and how the yogic science explains the Big Bang, and they were talking about various things in terms of yoga and science, how these two actually correlate. And I couldn't believe it. Everything he said made sense. Like, and he was not speaking like a speaker. He was not speaking like somebody who learned it somewhere, you know? It sounded like he spoke from his own experience. But this experience that he shared, it was not something that I had experienced, nor did I know anyone who experienced it. So it felt like he had some knowledge that was not in the books, that was not anywhere in the books. And I got curious and I started to listen to his talks. And slowly, I started to just immerse myself into the different science. I mean, it's one science, the yogic science that Sadhguru represents, but under that science, there are so many categories. There are so many different aspects of the science, and it's of course part of it is food and diet, and part of it is lifestyle, part of it is exercise and movement and yoga and meditation and mindset, and it goes it's not like only one specific thing. It goes into every part of your life, like that. And I went back to my friend, now that I call him my friend, not a man anymore. He became my friend, and we started talking about all these different aspects, and the whole world opened up. It was like I felt so ignorant, because suddenly the things that I started to learn about, I had no idea these were possible. I I never thought about it before. So that's how Sadhguru entered my life. And 2 years later, I went to his ashram and lived there for 9 months, because there came a point when I just wanted to know, is this really true? Is he really like that? And I had a lot of doubts. I had a lot of thoughts about what is going to happen there, and how will I find myself in this whole new country, in this whole new world, and in an ashram. And yeah, it was challenging for sure. But if I look back, that time, spending time at the ashram is the foundation that I had to build in order to have the life that I have now, which is, I would say, full of grace. And I can only thank Sadhguru for coming into my life, and choosing me, and also choosing me to find my wife, or my wife to find me, because without him this would have never happened. And without him, I I don't know where I would be.
Interesting. What was the, like, what difference did you find while getting attracted to his teachings? What was that felt like, yes, he's speaking something which is what I was really seeking deep inside, but it was never provided in this society or in this framework where I am. And How would that teachings that he was sharing made sense to you?
It's a very, very good question. I personally, now, if I look back at it, I don't feel like I chose it. I don't feel like I chose him to come into my life, or I chose, or I was ready, or something like that. I just feel that when I was having everything that I thought I wanted, which is I had a substantial amount of money. I was living in a house where I had my own floor. We had a sauna, a whirlpool. I I was in one of the best gyms with a swimming pool, and everything was taken care of. Everything was, if you could say, amazing in terms of the material side. But somewhere, despite of all that, I still felt some emptiness within me. And plus, I was living with a family who was extremely successful, who had all that I just said, plus they had the car that I dreamed of and the careers that I thought will be fulfilling. But I saw them struggle, and they were also in the process of getting divorced. And on top of that, both of them were taking medicines just to sleep or balance their anxiety. So I saw that, okay, even if I have everything I dream of in the material world, which they had and I had now, that's still not enough. So something else must be there. Where can I find that? Where can I, what's, how can I access it? Because alcohol is not the way for me. I understood that. And now, when Sadhguru came into my life, he came, I would say, very gently. He didn't come in like bursting through the door. He just knocked. So Sadhguru was very patient with me. He gave me the time and space to make my own decisions. And he gave me time and space to also consider if is this really something that I want to go into, because it's not a small decision. It's not a small decision. It's a big commitment. If you want to immerse yourself into a specific lineage or into a specific path, it's a it doesn't just affect that specific aspect. It affects your whole life. So it took me some time to really have the courage to immerse myself into the science. And what specifically about him? I didn't have anyone to compare him with, first of all. There was no one who made sense the way that he made sense. There was no one who was able to explain to me logically what how the mind operates, the different layers of the mind, how the body works, the different organs in the body, the functions of the organs, why why we should even be paying attention to things like how do we breathe, how do we sit, how do we walk, how do we stand, how all of these things were so irrelevant to me. Energy, like how does energy flow, how does it work, that was not even something I believed in. So he just me made sense. He just made sense to me. Whatever he said, he was able to explain it in a way that was making sense to me. And teachers were struggling, parents were struggling, but he was not struggling at all. And he was always, like I said, coming from a place of his own experience. He was not coming from a place of a doctrine. He was not coming from a book. He never cited the Bhagavad Gita, the Puranas. He never mentioned any scripture. And I think that was probably also why I got so attracted to him. Because I personally was not connected to the Bible, was not connected to the Quran, was not connected to any of the Holy Scriptures. So I really like that he was saying that he never read any of these books. I really resonate with it because I didn't want to read them either, because I wanted to experience it within myself. I didn't want to rely upon someone else telling me this is how it is, this is how this is, and this, that, and that. I wanted to experience it. So he offered a way to experience it through the tools and techniques that he offers. I wouldn't even call it teaches, because what Sadhguru offers is not a teaching, it's not a philosophy, it's not an ideology, it's not a belief system, it's life. How to come back to life. And it's very simple. Everything that he shows and talks about, it's very simple. It's so simple that even I could understand it. So if I can understand it, I would say most people can understand it. But of course, you might resonate with him or you might not. And if you don't, then he's not for you. Then you should listen to those people, or you should work with those people that resonate with you. If he doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. That's okay. There's no problem with that.
That's wonderful, because I think we all need that guidance somewhere, and then that's when these masters come in our life. And sometimes I feel like it's a blessing to have them in our life as well, because if we didn't had them, I'm not sure where we would have landed ourselves, or what would have happened. We would have like totally gone into, yeah, we would have
Absolutely.
lost us.
It's grace. That's what I call grace. It's, and like I said, I don't know if it's past life or if it's lineage, if it's my family, if it's whatever, for whatever reason he chose to, because I don't believe that he it was random. I personally, the way that I experienced his presence in my life and how he entered and how it, everything that followed after that, how my life changed, I I cannot take any credit. I could not have made this happen. So I can see how life has its own way of bringing the right people to you, but yeah, I do feel that there is something bigger, something larger that takes care of us. And it's not Sadhguru, it's something much bigger. Sadhguru is just one limb of it. You know, it's the energy that is there, it's so much so bigger. And I guess I was able to tap into it for a moment, and that was enough.
So nice. Um, Now I also want to understand, because you mentioned when Sadhguru entered your life, and also like because you had a lot of trauma or baggage that you were also carrying, then how did that help you? And like how you started overcoming them using certain tools that you're receiving now, maybe through different modes or mediums. So, what helped you in overcoming your challenges as well?
What helped me overcome my challenges? Number one, spending time in silence. I believe that a large reason why we go in these loops, why things just keep happening in the same way, we keep falling into the same patterns, is because we don't stay silent. Every word, every thought, every action has a consequence. And in in society, if you look at the conversations that people have, most of the conversations are gossip, talking about someone else in a negative way, or it could be even saying the truth, like saying something that is true, but it's bad for that person. Let's say I I'm a very lazy person, and I wake up very late, and um, I don't do things that I should be doing. And you're my friend, and you know that about me, and it's true. Now you go to your other friend, and you guys both know me, and you start telling that friend that my life is such a mess because I am lazy and I don't do things that I should be doing, and it's true. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. If you talk about someone else in a negative way, it's evil eye, it's gossip. And so I believe that our thoughts, our actions, and our words are most of the times keeping us in that loop. Because what we are thinking, what we are saying, and what we are doing is a lot of the times not something that is supported. We put other people down in order to feel better about ourselves. We put other people down in order to relate to others. We join conversations that are negative because we want to be part of that conversation or part of that society. And this happens all the time, all the time. And I believe that if we could just say less, speak less, and think less, then a lot of these things would be taken care of by themselves. Actually, a lot of our karma gets resolved by just living. But the problem is that we continue to generate new karma through our actions, through our thoughts, through our words. And if we could just stop these three or reduce it, then things would flow much easier. So Sadhguru's techniques or tools and the ashram, the life at the ashram, they just gave me some space to be in that silence, to spend time in nature, to listen to nature, to start to observe nature, to start to be in touch with the five elements which we are made of, to be in touch with myself as well, to start to observe myself more, to start to observe my thoughts, because every time I was thinking a negative thought, there was no way to distract myself. There was no way to get busy, nowhere to get drunk, nowhere to just gossip. Everything was, I have to deal with myself. I have to look at myself, and there was no way to escape. So I would say a large part of it was that. And of course, the yogic techniques, the tools that are given to you, they help you with that. They help you to have a sense of clarity, have a sense of focus, to establish that intensity not just in the body of feeling physically active and being intense in your physical body, but also intense in your senses, because now you're perceiving life, you're paying attention to you have enough energy not just to take care of your body, but you have enough energy to sense things beyond your five senses, which is energy, which we call as energy. So you start to become observant about yourself, your thoughts, what's happening around you, the environment, more observant about the people, how people influence you, and how you can also build a shield around yourself to have people influence you less, and how you can clean your body and your mind and your energetic body through these different techniques, tools and techniques and practices. And I believe that these tools are there to support us, and they're there to give us that foundation. And once you have a certain level of foundation, then you can explore. So I personally believe that if you're drawn to a specific guru or specific teaching, it doesn't have to be yoga, it can be qigong, tai chi, it could be martial arts. It could be, there are so many, Bharatanatyam, classical art, singing. There are many ways, dancing. There are so many arts that are there that can give us that foundation, which, because they are all based in nature, they're all based movement of nature, cyclical movement of nature, and sounds as well. They're also based in nature. You're holding an instrument which is made out of natural materials. So these are just different ways to connect back to nature, which is yoga. Yoga is the five elements. It's Bhuta Shuddhi. The basis of yoga is are the five elements. So you can do yoga without practicing yoga. You just have to find what calls you, and that's your basis. That's like how you build that foundation to get back in touch with nature through the five elements and through yoga or through whatever you choose, a specific discipline that helps you be disciplined and helps you focus on something for a period of time. And then with that skill, you can start to explore. And yeah, that's how that's how yoga changed my life in a way that in the beginning I thought yoga is stretching, yoga is doing these poses, holding asanas. I thought yoga is I need to do 6 hours of sadhana every day. If I don't do it, I'm not a good yogi. If I don't do it, I'm failing Sadhguru. Like I had a lot of judgments that came with this new identity that I had of being a spiritual person, and I had to drop that as well. And when I dropped that as well, then I could actually see how yoga is part of life. And I'm not perfect. It's not like I still fall off the wagon. There are still moments when I struggle.
So maybe I will ask a last question that if you have any message for the youth, and then we, yeah, we see what we do, and we invite audience for yoga, learning yoga, something like that. But that I can do in the form of we can do like in the form of writing or something. But you feel what is right to you to speak. Okay, that's really nice. So, would you like to share something for the youth or give some message for the youth of the society?
Sure. If I go back and I just think about what my 10-year-old self or 18-year-old self, what would have been good for me at that time, then I would say the most significant thing for me at that time was to feel like I I am safe, I belong, and I'm respected. That the people around me actually value me for who I am, not for what I do, not for the grades I get, not for how I perform in my academics or my sports. I just wanted to feel like I belong. And society in general and a lot of parents don't give us that feeling. And if we find ourselves in such situations where our parents, our caregivers, our teachers, they don't inspire us or they don't give us the care that we know we need, then we have to make a decision. We have to make a decision to either communicate that with our parents, which is something that I didn't do, and I now looking back, I wish I was more straightforward with my parents. But it depends because your parents can also be such that they're not open at all to listen to you, which I experienced with my father, who kind of laughed at me when I said no to him or when I didn't want to do what he asked me to do. So the reason why I didn't talk to my parents is largely because I felt like they were not open to it. So if you find your parents not being open to listen to you and you feel like you cannot talk to them, what I would say helps in such a situation is to look at how you can start to empower yourself because your parents only know so much. they have been taught by their parents, and their parents were taught by their parents, and so on. So your parents are not at fault. They're not bad guys. It's not like they want you to suffer or they don't want to listen to you, but they might have never been listened to. They don't know how to listen. So if you see that your parents are struggling with that part and you don't have someone to turn to, then the only way to turn is inwards. And turning inwards is not an easy thing because there's a lot of stuff that is waiting there, and that's not always easy. And I know that from my own experience, even to this day, there are moments when it's so heavy. Everything feels so heavy. Something is weighing on the shoulders, or something is weighing on my heart, and I feel like I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know how to. Uh, I'm not trained enough. I'm not smart enough, and that's where the self doubt also kicks in, where I feel like I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. All these thoughts start to come in, and in those moments, the only thing that really helps, at least it helped me to come back to myself, is nature. And when I say nature, I'm not talking about you having to do something like going outside and putting your bare feet in the ground, which would be amazing. But if you don't have such access or that's not possible to you, it doesn't take so much to connect back to nature. It just takes a little focus on your inhalation and your exhalation. And now this might also sound like, ah, I don't know if it works. I tried it, it doesn't really work. Okay, if you tried it and it doesn't work, then the only way to find out if you're breathing the right way, because I didn't breathe the right way for the large part of my life, and breathing didn't work for me. I always thought that something must be wrong with the world, something must be wrong with my parents' society, until I actually started to breathe. And breathing in the sense of breathing into the whole body. When I felt the pain, when I felt that struggle, when I felt lost, breathing into that feeling, wherever it is, breathing into that feeling and just focusing on what is this feeling trying to show me? What is this feeling trying to teach me? And when I approached my feelings, like feeling lost, feeling like I'm not belonging in this way, I started to relax. I started to calm down and I started to start. I started, I started, started, started. I started to be able to observe that this pain is not mine. This pain is not mine because I was not born with this pain. I was not born with this pain means something in my life happened that made me feel this pain, that made me feel lost, that made me feel like I don't belong. But at the source, at the core, the way I was born, I, the moment I was born, I belong. I have a purpose. There's meaning to my life. If there was no meaning to my life, I wouldn't have been born. So just that moment of, instead of going into the thoughts of I don't belong, I can't find myself, I don't know what I should be doing, what's the purpose, what's the point, um, what's my next step, all instead of just getting lost in these questions, if I can focus at every point in time what I'm experiencing right now, which sometimes it's pleasant and sometimes it's not so pleasant. And when it's not so pleasant, if I can give the same amount of attention to it as when I give to it when I feel pleasant, then the unpleasantness is going to move into pleasantness, and the pleasantness is going to move into unpleasantness. It will just be like a flow. It's not going to be. I need life to be pleasant in order to feel good. I need things around to be the way I want in order to feel good. If you are thinking that in this way, then life will always be a struggle because life outside will never be the way you want it to be. It's not for anybody on this planet. Doesn't matter who they are, life never happens the way you want it. There's always something that doesn't happen your way. And if you're not prepared to accept it and to be empowered, to empower yourself, to have the capability to move through that, then life will be always ups and down, ups and down, ups and down. But if you can accept the pleasantness and the unpleasantness and be pleasant in both of them, be okay with both of them, accept both of them, breathe through both of them, not judge any of either of them, then I believe that you are going to live a life that is miraculous, that is the life that you're meant to live. And yogic tools and other tools that you are drawn to are great ways to support you in that. So whatever you feel naturally drawn to, I mentioned some of these before, you just go with that and you give yourself completely 100%. Don't hold back. I hold back when I played soccer, and I didn't find any fulfillment in it. It was fun, it was cool, but I never felt fulfilled in soccer because I hold back. I thought I don't have the right soccer boots, I don't have the right equipment, but it was actually me who was holding back. And when I started to go in full in, all in, then life happened, then magic happened.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for today. It was really wonderful knowing about your journey and how you started overcoming your journey as well. It seems it was not easy, but still you tried to overcome as and you found your way somewhere. So it also shows a warrior spirit because you did not fall prey to a lot of things that was shown in front of you. You were looking for that spark and you wanted to be a person that you really were and not be somebody that you're not. So that takes a lot of courage as well.